Hi folks, welcome to another episode of NYC CNC. I've got a little bit of a head cold, so pardon my voice, but no way was I waiting to show off my new Tormach Superfly cutter. Super excited to get it. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and here's what's cool about it. And this is me going to simplify some pretty advanced mathematics and physics that I don't necessarily fully understand, but basically the brain trust over at Tormach figured out that the best way to drive insert end mills or fly cutters or face mills in these small milling machines like the Tormach that only have, say, 1.5 horse spindle power is to push all that horsepower into one chip. So even though this is called a fly cutter, the idea is the maximum face mill if you can. Tormach ran some tests against some multi-insert face mills. Those other face mills work great in 5, 10, 20 horsepower machines, but the conclusion seemed to be that a single insert face mill would work best in the 1.5 horse power Tormach. I've got the fly cutter installed. I've got the aluminum insert here that's very shiny, polished. They also make a steel insert, which I believe is gold colored. And I've run some test cuts, very impressed. Let's see what we can get here for surface finish and for material removal rates. First off, to give credit where credit is due, I'm grabbing some speeds and feeds recipes off a CNC Zone forum post by Scott M, who did some testing on the Superfly cutter and came up with some good recipes. So let's take his 2 recipes, dump them into GWizard, and see what kind of removal rates we get. 2.5 inch diameter is what I've got the Superfly set up for now. Single flute, no real stick out. We're going to try 30 thou, a 2-inch width of cut because that's the piece of aluminum I've got in the vices right now. And the recipe said to start around 1,600 or 1,500 surface feet per minute. We know that the Tormach has max power around 2,500 to 3,000 RPMs in the high spindle setting. So what we see here is that we get somewhere between 30 inches a minute would be using about 0.4 horsepower, and Scott M seemed to think you could get up to 100 inches a minute, which is a little over 1.1 horsepower. If we jump up to 75 thou depth of cut, same RPM, we should be able to go about 30 inches a minute. That is a 4.5 cubic inches per minute material removal rate. That's lower than what you may see online because we're only cutting a 2-inch width of pass, not the full 2.5 inch tool diameter, which would bump it up more. Likewise, if we go back to the 30 we started with, we'll see that that is at 100 inches a minute, 5.4 cubic inches per minute. If you did the full 2.5 of a full cutter width, you'd be almost at 7 inches a minute. Okay, the first cut, 30 thou depth of cut, 2,500 RPMs, 2-inch width of cut, that's the piece of stock in the vise, which is 6061 T6 aluminum, and we're gonna go 100 inches a minute on the second pass. Let's start off easier with 50 inches a minute. Okay, that went great. I don't have a spindle load meter on my mill, but you can generally hear listening to the motor if it was under strain, and that wasn't. I will say this, Tormach sort of had a blog naming contest for this product when they came out with it, and they concluded Superfly. That's wrong. It should really be called the holy shit, it's throwing chips everywhere, get the hell out of the room end mill, because oh my God, the chips here are large and they're coming at you fast. Okay, let's try that at 100 inches a minute. So again, 30 thou depth of cut, 2,500 RPM, 100 inches a minute. No problem handling that at all. Now let's try 75 thousandths depth of cut, 2,500 RPMs, but we'll only go 30 inches a minute. This end mill is incredible. The chips coming off it are too, it's amazing. I've got to try to get a better camera angle here so you folks can see it. Take a look at these chips, folks. These are incredible. They're just absolutely beautiful. It's by far the biggest chip I've ever cut on my Tormach. I grabbed the high-speed camera. Let's take a look at those chips at 210 frames per second. Again, this is 70 thou depth of cut, 30 inches a minute, 2500 RPM. And to finish up, let's take a look at the surface finish quality on a finishing pass. I'll take 150 thousandth depth of cut at 30 inches a minute at 2500 RPMs. And I'll grab an end mill from my end mill drawer and just show you how absolutely mirror finished that is. And that's 150 thou depth of cut. That's not even, I could take an even shallower cut, potentially get a better finish, but hard to argue with that. That's it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed. If you've got a benchtop or lower horsepower spindle mill or even a Bridgeport, I definitely recommend looking into the Superfly cutter. As you see, it's great for both hogging out aluminum and steel with the different insert, and for a great surface finish. Take care. Thanks.